Hello, everybody, and welcome to Revive Stories. It's very good to see you and to be with you today for another story. Very blessed to be joined by Carla today, who's an incredible member of our church at Revive Church, and who's got an incredible story that we look forward to hearing. But before we get into that, just want to welcome anybody that's joining us today and that's watching this video. We really hope that this serves as an encouragement to you and inspires you in your walk here at Revive Stories and at Revive Church. The heart behind this series is to be able to share our story because we know that there is power in the testimony. And if God can do it for us in our different lives and different spheres, he can most definitely do it for you. So today we've got the incredible honor of chatting a bit to Carla. Carla, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, Paul, and thanks for the privilege and opportunity.
Of course, man. I look forward to this conversation. Obviously, I've known you for a little while, and I know your kids very well as well. So for me, it's an excellent honor and privilege to be able to do this. And really, how we like to start these things, Carla, is we like to kind of start from the beginning. So maybe you can just share a little bit about yourself, maybe where you grew up and early things like that, and then we can get into it.
Thank you, Paul. I was born in Stellenbosch. I went to school in Stellenbosch, and I went to university in Stellenbosch. So that is beginning of my life. I grew up with two wonderful parents. I must say they were very strict, Afrikaans speaking, and we belonged to the Dutch Reformed Church in Stellenbosch. And I must say, I was thinking about this a bit the past couple of days, and I must honestly say that yes, times have changed. I mean, it's a long time ago when I went to Sunday school and church and so forth, those years. But I must honestly say it was so different when I grew up. I mean, we had Sunday school, but it was so strict. And you had to learn a Bible verse, and it was you learned your Bible verse, and if you knew it was fine. If not, but there was, to me, really, I want to say, no depth to my Christian. I grew, like I said, my parents read the Bible to us and all that, but it was to me sort of far removed. And I must admit, the Sunday sermons were something to sit through because you had all these professors who came from the quick school, and it was like a history lesson. And I must say, we just sort of went through the emotions. So I didn't really can say that it really personally affected me or had any great input in my life. Varsity, how can I say, I went to the student church, but sort of had my foot still in at the Dutch Reformed Church. And yes, it was nothing major that I said that God played a lot. He was there. I knew about him. I knew all about the Bible, but it wasn't so meaningful to me.
Yeah.
And then after varsity, I got my first job at the old Cape Technicon, where I also met my husband. And now, as I look back, I can actually see how God actually prepared me for what was lying ahead in my life. So because Trevor is English and I've been part of the Dutch Reformed Church, we couldn't quite decide where we belonged. So we sort of left it, but I'll come back to that. So I met my husband, and I think after 3 years of marriage, we decided, okay, it's time maybe to start a family. I said to Trevor that I would like one child, seeing that he already has two. So we were so excited. I actually got pregnant quite quickly, and we were so excited for this baby. And then I was still working, and I just had my 10-week scan. And the Monday morning when I got to work, one of the ladies said, but she has got German measles. Now, if you go into medical literature, you will know that if there is one thing that you shouldn't have when you are pregnant, is German measles.
Sure.
And to cut a long story short, we lost our daughter at 17 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And that to me was very traumatic. Our first child and everything that went with the process. And I felt very far removed from God. I was just crying. And the, how can I say, the difficult part was because I've got a twin sister. She lives on a farm outside of Caledon, and she was pregnant as well. So we were pregnant together, but now I lost my child. And I think for the first time was actually cross with God, if I can say that.
Yeah.
And also I asked why? What have I done? But in any case, I then struggled. I got infection. I struggled to fall pregnant, and I really thought, now I'm infertile. But God blessed us with Grant, our eldest, and he actually was a emergency cesarean because I was adamant I was going to have a normal birth, and he was breech at 38 weeks, and my gynae actually turned him around. So I was all geared up for natural birth. I never looked at cesareans, but he was. I had a cesarean, and he was a healthy boy, 3.6, and I fell in love with him the first time I saw him. And Trevor and I then decided that because of what happened with Megan, is that we decided together that I will stop working and I will become a housewife, look after our children.
Okay.
So we made that decision, the best decision I've ever made in my life. We decided we will come by on one salary. And it may sound strange, but Stephen just happened.
Yeah.
And I must say, he always laughs when I say that, but we didn't plan him at all. But I mean, he is such a joy too in our lives. And God blessed us with him when I was 38 already. But he was a
Wow.
healthy boy. And yes, so now we had 2 children. And we decided, I must say, when Grant was 3 years old, we decided he needs some kind of church. So we decided, because we bring them up English, that we would go to an English-speaking church. So he started only when he was, I think, in grade 3. And so he loved going to church, and naturally I read Bible stories to them as children and whatever. And Stephen then also went to the church. And I must say, I think their foundation of loving God, loving church, started at that church. They had the most wonderful Sunday school. I mean, they did fun things. It was so different to my childhood experience of Sunday school. And naturally, they were christened as babies, because in both of the churches Trevor and I belonged to, we never spoke about adult baptism. It was always just christening as a baby, as a child, and you as parents make the vow that you will bring your children up in a Christian way. And that is how we grew up, and that's what we thought. And Trevor and I then also joined the church together, because although I had my one foot in the Dutch Reformed, it didn't work for us as a family. So we got involved in the the English-speaking church here in Milnerton. And yes, it was a good journey for us as a family. And then Grant wrote matric. He went to varsity, and Stephen was still here. And we continued going to church. But in the meantime, I must also say that to come back to how we came to Revive, is that in between all of that, after I lost Megan, I also in 2008 got bacterial meningitis, which we didn't realize was so serious. After a week in isolation in hospital, they sent me home and said there was nothing they could do for me. And yes, and later on, specialists told me that I should have died. They really said I was going to die. They were not sure what to do. And I can tell you that pain in your whole body, that pain in that headache, it feels that you want to die. It is just too awful. And yes, when I got home, I literally spent 6 months in bed. I
Sure.
couldn't drive. I had to learn to walk properly again. And that was a very difficult time in my life because my parents were at that stage sickly already, and Trevor's mom was elderly. So it was a very difficult period in our time, but we got through that with the help of family and friends. And then after that, in 2012, my parents really, dad, with his brilliant professor mind, got Alzheimer's quite badly, and my mom actually became paralyzed. She needed to be in a wheelchair, so they both needed a special kind of care. So I didn't, with all of that going on, I didn't actually go for my mammogram because I used to do that. And then when I decided to go, when I was 49, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I couldn't believe that. To me, I was feeling healthy, had no outward signs. And my word, I thought my first word when it was actually confirmed, I thought I am going to die and not see my children grow up. Stephen was in primary school and Grant was in high school.
Wow.
And that changed my life. I want to say for the better, in the sense that I was now confronted with my mortality. And now, 12 years later, I actually know that my diagnosis was good in the sense that it was early diagnosis. It was still within my breast, in my milk ducts, and it hasn't spread to my lymph nodes. So that at least cut out receiving chemo. And in hospital, I had so many friends and family coming to me, and they all brought me Christian literature to read. And I think that was the turning point in really having a much deeper relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
And I also, people always say, and I see it now with other patients that I visit, is that I sometimes wonder, why do you need something serious to happen to you to have a different outlook of life?
Yeah.
But I started looking at life. I want to say it opened my eyes, and also my religious part. We then joined a life group at the church and got very much more involved in church. And yes, I was grateful for my journey that although I had a bilateral mastectomy, I had only radiation, and it was good. My parents was then in a place of care. My children were fine. They were going through school, and people were wonderful. I mean, our life group brought us food for 6 weeks. I never had to ask for a lift. At one stage, teachers brought the children home from sports. I mean, it was phenomenal. The love I received and my family, it was amazing, the support. And when I was in hospital, my mom actually came to visit me because at that stage my dad was not capable. And because she was in a wheelchair, naturally we spoke every day. I didn't think she would be able to come. And I was lying in bed and I was talking to the lady next to me and I said, but that sounds like my mom's voice. And I thought, but that's impossible. And here my mom arranged to come from Stellenbosch in a wheelchair with a friend to come and see me and to bring me some flowers. And Paul, that was just an awesome moment. I mean, like I said, I had loving parents. I must also say that because my sister lives far, it was on me to look after my parents. Although they were in a place of care, I went through weekly and, spent time with them, took them stuff and so forth. So they were very totally dependent on me, but I had the privilege to be there for them and look after me like I did when I was young.
Sure.
And in the hospital, a Reach for Recovery volunteer visited me. And when I was better and recovered, I thought maybe that is something I can do because the kids are now in high school. I've done my duty. They did their project and things by themselves. They could to learn by themselves. Actually, we were there to assist, but I mean, I wasn't one of those moms who did everything for them. I didn't believe in that. Thank goodness, because I actually prepared them for varsity and being on their own later in life.
Yeah.
And I then joined Reach for Recovery. And yes, that has changed my life as well, where now I'm a volunteer at the Cape Peninsula branch and the chair lady for Western Cape. It is a
Wow.
part-time job without any pay, but it is so rewarding, especially in the month of October, where we are now, where it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yeah.
The message to get out there is early detection and to know the early signs of breast cancer. That is what we do with our outreach. Our calendar is quite full in October. I must admit, after October, I'm tired of seeing pink, looking like pink, and
Yeah.
whatever. But if it gets the message across, perfect. I can say you are in charge of your health. And if there is something that is not right, it won't go away by itself. Rather, make sure that you go and see a medical specialist or doctor. In my case, I had no lump, I had no outward signs. It was only diagnosed through a mammogram.
Sure.
So that is why, if you are young, you don't have to go. You just need to do self-examination every month. But if you're 40 and above, you need to start going for a mammogram.
Yeah.
So that is very important. Early detection saves your life. And naturally, in the time that I've had my cancer, lots of things have changed. Even the protocol has changed, very much more better medicine in terms of chemotherapy. So it is not a death sentence anymore. So to come back to the church journey, so that is sort of my journey in life, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And I want to say it started with my cancer, and then strangely enough, during COVID, our kids were so excited. They actually started. We said to them after they, I want to say, matriculated. Stephen went overseas for 2 years. Grant went to varsity. They can choose the church where they go to because, as you know, historically, if like I was in the Dutch Reformed Church or the Methodist Church, if you as your parents, the children will go and you will continue. But luckily, life has changed, and these days you actually have a choice where you want to go. So the kids started going to the View Church because of their friends and people they met. And they were always so, I want to say, alive when they came back and they got this wonderful message and said they longed to go to church. And I thought, wow, there must be something in this, in still the View Church. And they said, but why don't you come? And I found it a bit strange to go to not a shopping center, a center. I didn't imagine that we will be like in that building, but you don't look at the building, you look at, what you get from there. But we were very welcome and we enjoyed worship, and yes, it was great. And it was wonderful to be there also with our children. And then I heard, you can join doing courses. And I said to Trevor, I think COVID has actually given us a good excuse to put the old behind us and to try something new. Naturally, it's still in a Christian environment, but I think it's time that we change. And so I did the courses and found out that I was, which I suppose it's very true. Laura said to me she thinks I should work in the cafe because I did actually work at the tuck. I ran the tuck shop at school before I got breast cancer at the primary school the kids were in. And I like talking to people. That is what I do with Reach for Recovery. And I must say, the first day I got there, I didn't know about the chai and latte and double shot and single and regular. But I've learned and I enjoyed my time there. I've also joined a life group, which has the people have become my friends. They have been assisting me through difficult times. As you know, as a Christian, we do have trials and tribulations. And especially with our son, although it is God-given, and I am so grateful for that, his opportunity to go and work overseas, that he met his wife in South Africa, Jade, and he married them.
Yeah.
Grateful. I mean, that is just an absolute blessing. And then, our two sons having their knee problems because of soccer.
Yeah.
The soccer fans, and Stephen's difficult journey through COVID with his piloting, but God was gracious and merciful, and now he is flying. He did his instructor's course. He had 2 knee operations, but he is now flying, enjoying it. Except he says Victoria is hopelessly too hot. We flew this morning at 6, and it was already 26 degrees.
Yeah.
So, but God has really, and I can see how God, something happened and it closed the one door and it opened, and it tested our faith. And I must say, sometimes I also did ask God, why at this moment? Everything was so perfect. And then this happened. But if I look back, and there is where your faith comes in. Sometimes, people send you, I do the same, you send you messages on WhatsApp in the morning. And you receive a message that speaks to you on that day. And my life group, we all prayed, and I can say, God, Stephen is where he is at the moment. I am at the place in my life where I need to be, my husband as well, Grant as well. And to say thank you and to show my appreciation and how I've grown in my faith, I decided that I wanted to be baptized. I spoke to Sven about it because it was a new concept to me. I didn't quite understand the reasoning behind it. So I got the information, and I decided that will just reiterate how far I've come in my journey as a Christian. And I want to say I have got now, through this whole period in my life, a very much deeper understanding, and I have got this hunger to learn more. I have actually set up in our spare room, Judge, I want to say her where she used to work, and I have my quiet time, and I really have, I want to say, a wonderful relationship with God. I trust in Him. I pray about everything, and I want to say that is thanks to Revive Church, my life group, and yes, helping me grow.
Yeah, that's
and
incredible.
Through my baptism, that is a deeper depth that is brought to my life. And like I said in the beginning, all of what happened in my life previously sort of put me in the place where I'm now, where I am happy with my life. And I just want to say, for younger people out there, I'm 61 years old, and I've only found, I want to say, the church that I love, place where I belong, and the real that I understand what it is to be a Christian. So you don't have to. Yes, I mean, it will be wonderful if you've given your life to God when you're a teenager, or like my children when they were younger. That is fantastic. But it wasn't in my case. But it's never too late.
Yeah. Carla, that's so good. Geez, thank you so much for taking the time to share. Your story is vast, and there's so many things that I think people can lean into and take encouragement from. And I think for me, as we close, I think for me, the great encouragement there is that I think sometimes we can let adversity have different effects in our life. But I'm not saying you didn't have bad moments. I'm sure there were moments where you felt quite low and where things felt quite hopeless. But I love how your story is just a great testimony of, you know what, through that, we drew closer to God. Through that, we saw the faithfulness of God and the grace of God on the lives of your kids. And I can personally say, just your family and all of you guys, you're just such fantastic people. And I really hope for everybody that has tuned in today and has watched this video, I really hope this has been an encouragement for you, that life is not about having everything the normal way, the right way, or the easy way, But
Yes.
God can, if you give him the room and the space and the time, God can use everything and work it to the good. And I think that is your life. And I love your heart for people. I love your heart for our church. And I'm very, very grateful for this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Phil. It meant a lot to me to be able to share my journey.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carla. God bless everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you soon.